anything else to do, evidently. So we've got to mention that there is a lot to do for viruses. There's a lot of virostatic and antiviral substances we can use. Two of them I want to mention today on our show. Silver Shield. Silver. It's simple, and it's rather cheap. Next to going to doctors, my goodness. I hope that Trump and those guys now set in they changed the medical system to where we get just what do they call them? Some we could spend that money on substances that really work instead of stupid doctors giving us antibacterial substances for virus problems. Well, we'd go right out and buy some silver. Because silver is antibacterial, antifungal, antimicrobial, antiparasitic, antiseptic, antiviral, disinfectant. It stimulates your immune system, actually. And this is probably why silver was employed as a germicide and an antibiotic long before modern antibiotics were developed. In previous centuries, people would shave silver particles or submerge silver coins or articles like that in drinking water to prevent it from turning bad. And it worked, because silver inhibits the growth of bacteria and viruses and disease-causing organisms. It seems likely that the practice of eating with silver utensils, silverware, resulted from this belief and the healthful properties of silver. So they do have now a wonderful patented silver product that utilizes a special patented Kcxl technology. It's been approved as non-toxic by the EPA. Silver Shield is antibacterial, antifungal, antimicrobial, antiparasitic, antiviral, and antiseptic. And the EPA says so. Well, why do we use it? It's been tested against numerous microorganisms in doses of only 10 parts per million. And you can get that at health food stores. Now, Nature's Sunshines goes from 18 to 28 parts per million. They have it patented in that range, which are very powerful. And their product book tells you something about it. It says these organisms that this silver has been found to be effective against include, and they have a list of them. And listen to this: the bacteria that causes dental plaque and tooth decay, and Streptococcus mutans, ear and sinus infection, Streptococcus pneumoniae, eye infections, that's another Streptococcus aureus, food poisoning, Salmonella arizona, and a number of them, E. coli, bacillary dysentery, Shigella is what does that, diarrhea, E. coli again, enteric fever, nosocomial infections in hospitals. This Klebsiella, that pneumonia that kills people in hospitals, and it's where you pick it up. Stay out of hospitals, my friends, and stay out of strep infections. If you get it, Silver Shield will take care of it. Strep throat is called by Streptococcus pyogenes. Impetigo, Staphylococcus aureus causes that. Septicemia, pneumonia. Staphylococcus aureus, and Haemophilus influenza, and Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and Streptococcus pneumonia. All of these things can be handled by simple silver. Scarlet fever, that's another strep infection. Respiratory tract infections of all kinds are listed here. And urinary tract infection, usually Klebsiella, and Pneumonas aeruginosa, and several other enterobacteria. There's urethritis in men, vaginitis in women, yeast infections, burn and wound infections. You should see the pictures of this, curing burn and wound infections so quickly. Skin infections of all kinds, from staph to streps, wound infections, and it goes on. It's quite a list of those things. In fact, it works against everything they've put it against endocarditis, meningitis. It is all these things with itis in them. Osteomyelitis. In fact, Silver Shield has been found to be both bacteriostatic and bactericidal for all gram-negative and gram-positive organisms tested in patients and in the lab. In other words, in vivo and in vitro, all causing infections in humans, including emerging the resistant strains that we're seeing now emerging that they don't have anything for. So the studies have shown that this silver has equal or broader spectrum antibacterial activity than any one antibiotic ever tested. This makes it a very effective alternative to antibiotics. And it doesn't bother your immune system. In fact, it bolsters it. Well, internally, the recommended dose for adults is a teaspoon daily on an empty stomach. That's for prevention. And 2 to 3 teaspoons daily for fighting infection. Shoot, you can go up from that anytime you want to. The children's suggested dose is 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon daily. It tastes like water. Doesn't have much taste to it because largely it is water. And so the Silver Shield gel, now they do make it a gel, especially useful for topical applications when you get scrapes and wounds on kids. Just use it undiluted on cuts, scrapes, and wounds of any kind. It'd be used as drops in the eyes or ears. I have it in my pocket and I spray my eyes with it several times a day because, people cough in my face as I'm looking at their eyes and, and it can go in your eyes just as well as any other openings. So I just spray my face with it about between patients. It can also be used as drops in the ears and are used as a douche for vaginal yeast infections. So there's... In the warning section, when you read the warning section on things, usually you'll have some powerful things to watch for, but not this one. Silver Shield will not cause a diarrhea, and there's discoloration of the skin. I've got some people come in because they make their silvers in their garage, and unit they think that they can do this. Well, they look like a Tin Man pretty soon. They just look the color of silver. It's terrible. Discolors their skin permanently. Well, you don't want this. And this does not do that. It is approved as non-toxic by the EPA, absolutely safe for regular use. In fact, I've traveled and given lectures up and down the East Coast with the guy that's over the manufacturing plant. There's a huge plant that manufactures this out in Utah. And this man and I have traveled together and given lectures. And at the end of each lecture, he drinks a whole bottle of the stuff right in front of him. And it hasn't changed the color of his skin at all. So for serious infections, people have consumed as much as a bottle per day for 2 or 3 weeks. No problem with that. And so that's available through Nature's Sunshine. Nature's Sunshine has this patented right up to 28 parts per million, which is sufficient to kill anything they know of that I've listed there. So it's in their book, The Comprehensive Guide to Nature's Sunshine Products. And they have a revised one now, the 6th edition. That's wonderful. Well, this is great. So rather than go running down and getting vaccines shot into you, because you might get something, I just noticed that some people I know just ran down there, did that, and their kids got them vaccinated, and all the kids have the flu now. They actually got it from the vaccine because there's just weakened organisms in that vaccine, see. So what's the flu? Well, you get fever, you get chills, you get a runny nose, sore throat, muscle aches, fatigue, decreased appetite, diarrhea sometimes, It's a primitive, non-replicating organism that affects the respiratory system. That's what the flu is, the influenza bug. And they mutate so fast that they can't keep up with it. But the flu bug requires DNA to reproduce, to invade cells by puncturing the cell wall with little spikes. And these little spikes on the flu bug are called hemagglutinin. Hemagglutinin. And these little spikes are coated with an enzyme called neuraminidase. And these little spikes coated with this neuraminidase breaks down the cell wall enough to where it can enter the cell. And once broken down, the cell wall, the new viruses are set free that's been growing inside there, and the old virus can go in there and use the replication energy of the nucleus to make more of himself, and makes some more. So on and on it goes. Now, they have made some neuraminidase inhibitors. One of them is called Tamiflu. There's an oral one, and there's a Relenza Live virus inhaler that you can sniff up your nose. They have a couple of those. And they do alleviate the symptoms without influencing the course of the illness. But why do that when you have silver? Or you have even things like elderberry that the Indians showed us they used for flu. Elderberry naturally inhibits neuraminidase. And elderberry is in a number of products that Nature's Sunshine puts out. They have elderberry plus. They have several of these elderberry things. They have even one that's chewable for kids. And it does the same thing as Tamiflu. So, of course, we want to take care of ourselves. That's what we want to do. And the head of the Stanford Medical School retired a couple of years ago. He gave a big lecture that was quoted in the Kansas City Star. He said, "With all your might and main, if you feel reasonably well, stay away from doctors." That's good advice. Because what? Well, they're going to kill you. And so there's good advice coming from the head of the largest medical school in the United States. He says, because when they find out something wrong, well, if they do a few blood tests on you, they'll find something wrong. Your bun reading will be a little high, blood urea nitrogen from eating too much meat, and they'll do things to you. So why not take care of yourself? Well, that's what we've had to do for years and years and years. Very seldom would a person ever have to see a doctor if he just has a little sense. Just needs a little common sense. Of course, there's very little of that, in the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, look at them. Half of them voted for Hillary, for God's sake. So, it's not much common sense out there. But we encourage it, and that's what our program's all about. A little common sense. Now, we have substances. Of course, this infection. See, everybody's afraid of infections. Well, our body's, prepared for infection if you do anything right. If you eat your fruits and vegetables and you bolster your immune system, we have substances like immune stimulator, trigger immune. These things are sold by Nature's Sunshine. What do? Well, they can measure your immune processes coming right uphill when you take those things. Trigger immune comes from China. The Chinese have been, have figured this out centuries ago. And they have a nice combination called trigger immune. And that's exactly what it does. With a strong immune system, you almost never succumb to infections in the first place. Your immune system's so strong. But remember that the problem with infections is that people don't have that first immune system working for them, which is the ascorbate level in your white blood cells. And this ascorbate level, if it's high, almost never do you have to resort to the secondary immune system, which is all that vaccinations work on. It's the secondary immune system. We really don't need to get to the secondary immune system if you take care of the first. And so we don't really need vaccinations by taking care of the first immune system. Now, since a doctor years ago told us that, a very renowned doctor, and told we don't need vaccinations to take care of your first immune system. The second one will take care of itself usually. But what does the first immune system take? Well, he says we have to keep the ascorbate level high in the first immune system. What is that? That's vitamin C. Vitamin C is ascorbate, so that's what he's talking about. Vitamin C. All right. Well, let's address that for a little bit here. See, there's been a lot of bad mouthing of vitamin C lately, and it was, in fact, they still bad mouth it every now and then. I want to address that at length because Dr. Passwater, who's a PhD, wonderful guy, that had an article in the Whole Foods magazine, and in that magazine, he had an interview with Bill Sardi, who's a writer that's written 40 books and lots of other things, on health. So this interview with Bill Sardi was very elucidating about vitamin C. And the title of it was, "Their RDA for vitamin C is invalid. New information." Well, that's what we want. Now, in a recent book that they wrote, that two doctors wrote, Dr. Steve Hickey and Hilary Roberts, pharmacology graduates of Manchester University in England, maintain that the current recommended dietary allowance, that's the RDA, for vitamin C, was established without proper scientific protocol, and that millions of humans have suffered premature cataracts, arthritis, arterial disease, and death because of miscalculations by the vitamin C researchers. Given that most people are currently advised that high doses of vitamin C intake is worthless and problematic, this is really a startling report. And so the book is Ascorbate, The Science of Vitamin C. 264 pages. Wonderful information in there. And Dr. Passwater interviewed Dr. Sardi about this book. And there is a discussion of this topic in this book. The U.S. Food and Nutrition Board has prepared the RDA, the recommended daily allowance, since 1941 for Americans and for the world, really. Hickey and Roberts claim that the very idea of an RDA is based upon an outdated biological idea. And this idea is that a single dose of vitamin C is suitable for a large population. Well, that idea should be abandoned. There's widespread individual variables. That was outlined in Roger Williams' classic book in 1956. That book was entitled Biochemical Individuality. And it shows that in states of biological stress, like illness, emotional or physical strain, exposure to solar radiation, or stuff like cancer, living tissue requires a lot more vitamin C. The need for vitamin C is dynamic. It requires repeated supplementation, too. So what's the major flaw in the RDA intake level for vitamin C? Well, Doctors Hickey and Roberts take Institute of Medicine and National Institutes of Health, NIH, to task for failing to calculate the half-life of ascorbic acid, or vitamin C. The half-life is the time a substance takes to disappear from human tissues. And in humans, the half-life for vitamin C is 30 minutes. 30 minutes! The NIH researchers established the current RDA based upon tests conducted 12 hours after consumption. That's 24 half-lives. So to be blunt, Dr. Hickey said the NIH gave a dose of vitamin C, waited till it had been excreted and used up, and then measured the blood levels, and that became our RDA. Well, because vitamin C is used up rapidly, a very high single dose of vitamin C would not achieve the same concentration in the blood serum over time as two divided lower doses. So Doctors Hickey and Roberts claim a lot of negative studies using high-dose vitamin C have failed to recognize this fact, and they've therefore mistakenly concluded that high-dose supplemental vitamin C is ineffective. Well, it may be. The RDA for vitamin C was established using studies of just 7 and 15 individuals. 7 and 15. Certainly not enough to provide statistical power for an RDA intended for 300 million people. So, Dr. Passwater said, just the fact that this extremely small study has been given so much scientific weight appalls me. Well, if Dr. Linus Pauling was alive, well, he'd turn over in his grave right now. Knowing this, you see. Well, this small study, involving just a few healthy young men, was okay to the researchers, but they asked for more larger studies. Did they get them? No.
Those studies were in a few healthy young men, isolated from the real world and isolated from exposure to new germs. The volunteers were confined to a metabolic ward type of setting during the study. They were not free living. They were out there being exposed to everybody coughing down their neck like I was on Southwest Airlines. Now see, the uptake of vitamin C in white blood cells is much greater when the immune system is responding to bacterial or viral attack, or in a person suffering from arthritis or has diabetes. As Dr. Richard Cathcart has said, and others have shown, Cathcart, Dr. Robert Cathcart, said there are 5 grams of vitamin C colds, and there are 25 grams of vitamin C flu cases. That'd be 25,000 grams eaten up when you're fighting flu. Not 90 milligrams, 25,000. And that's why bowel tolerance to megadoses of vitamin C intake goes up during illness. If anybody's noticed this, the white blood cells are absorbing more of the vitamin C, and so less vitamin C remains in the bowel to cause loose stools or diarrhea. So people take a high dose of vitamin C, it says, give me diarrhea. Well, they didn't need it. They weren't fighting these illnesses at the time. Plasma C, vitamin C levels increased even at doses greater than 200 milligrams of vitamin C per day. In the blood, it goes up. For example, at 200 milligrams of vitamin C a day, plasma levels were about 65 micromoles. At 1,000 milligrams per day intake, it went up to 75 micromoles in the blood. At 2,500 milligrams per day, it went up to 85 micromoles. So, tissues claimed to be saturated at an intake of 100 milligrams per day of vitamin C were merely white blood cells. No other tissues, such as the liver or the brain, absorbed it. It was just they were measuring in white blood cells. So that study had its severe limitations. It's not a comprehensive study on vitamin C. That hasn't been done. Pharmacokinetics has not been done on it. Requirements have not been really set. How did the NIH researchers get themselves in such a mess, in such a situation? Well, the NIH researchers recently noted that intravenous vitamin C raises plasma concentrations 6.6 times above oral high-dose vitamin C supplementation. In other words, shooting it into you with a needle really raises it. And they conceded that the role of vitamin C, this is a quote, the role of vitamin C in cancer treatment should be reevaluated, unquote, in the light of that study. Well, that vindicates the work of Dr. Linus Pauling, who pioneered the use of intravenous vitamin C as a cancer treatment. Some good doctors throughout the United States are alternative, and they're using vitamin C and getting real good response on various kinds of cancer. Now, oral vitamin C, when given in the divided doses, can achieve blood concentrations greater than 73.8 micromoles per liter, which is documented to reduce the risk of mortality from cancer and all causes of death by 62%. That's oral doses of high doses of vitamin C. 62% reducing of mortality from cancer. That's reported in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition in the year 2000. Now, Dr. Hickey says that the NIH should have immediately issued retraction on its previously published papers and called for a new review of the RDA. Did they do it? No. No, they didn't. NIH's own data exposed the flaws of the RDA, a remarkable self-indictment that the NIH was not quick to air this in public. The public didn't know about this. Dr. Hickey says he has engaged the NIH for the past year. He said the NIH has stopped responding to his emails. The failure of these health organizations to adequately respond to these challenges regarding the recommended daily amount for vitamin C over the past years prompted him and Dr. Roberts to publish their book. So they did. And Dr. Hickey and Roberts, as well as many other vitamin C researchers, believe the idea of a saturation point for vitamin C in white blood cells is just misleading. It should be abandoned. Blood plasma concentrations are not really indicative of the need for ascorbic acid in the tissues throughout the rest of the body. So, the NIH scientists continue to maintain that 200 milligrams of oral vitamin C achieves the maximum concentration of vitamin C in blood plasma, approximately 70 micromoles per liter of blood. And there's where they stop. And anything above 200, they say, is nearly completely excreted in the urine. That's a quotation from them. However, recent studies conducted by the NIH themselves reveal that repeated high dose of oral vitamin C can produce concentrations 3 times greater than 200 micromoles per liter than the so-called saturation level they talk about. So it does. Its uptake is higher than they say. Now, I just noticed I was in Walmart the other day. I got out of there as fast as I could. But I noticed that they had an Infamil there for babies. And I looked at the label. Guess what they're feeding babies? 12 milligrams of vitamin C in there. Now, babies need more vitamin C. They're growing. Without vitamin C, you can't make collagen. Vitamin C is necessary for tying together this substance we call collagen, which most of the baby is collagen. Is lysine and proline tied together with glucose, and that's glucosamine, a strand of collagen. It's put together by vitamin C. If anybody needs vitamin C more than anybody else, it's a baby. And they're giving him 12 milligrams in Infamil? You got to be kidding. Now, Bill Sardi here, he commented about this. Because of the half-life problem, Dr. Hickey and Roberts emphasized divided doses of supplemental vitamin C throughout the day, like Linus Pauling begged us to do before he died. They cautiously estimate a 160-pound healthy adult, about my size, would require about 2,500 milligrams of vitamin C, let's say a 500 milligram dose of vitamin C taken every 3 hours or 5 times a day. And you'd finally get enough. The divided doses would overcome any diarrhea side effect that is sometimes experienced by vitamin C supplement users if they don't have any infection they're fighting. Now, millions of Americans may have been misled by health authorities and received this bad advice in their development of personal health regimens. The flawed science behind the RDA is now being revealed. Just like everything else out there, it's a lie. You found this out in politics recently, huh? Everything is a lie or twisted. It's just that this time, Doctors Hickey and Roberts have pinned the scientists down on the particulars of their lie. Now, the flawed science is in the open for everyone to examine. And it's easily understood by consumers who ought to be quite angry over these revelations, you know. And now, the Codex has been applied to Europe. And when I was over there in Switzerland not too long ago, and in France, and I went to these ostensible health food stores. Well, it's a laugh. They have applied this Codex to them. And as high vitamin C as you could find was 100 milligrams of chewable vitamin C, which is sick, really sick. So that Codex, they're trying to apply it to the United States. That would be sick. That would restrict essential nutrients in dietary supplements to certain amounts, the so-called safe upper limit, based upon their RDA. Yeah. So Dr. Sardi sent an email to the U.S. Kcxl delegation and asked them to cease approval of any Kcxl proposals in regard to dietary supplements until this RDA problem is resolved. Of course, they ignored him, but he went on. He said the brain levels of vitamin C are tenfold greater than in your blood plasma. Your brain really burns up a lot of vitamin C. Maybe not in blondes, but in most of us. You see? Now, the adrenal gland has a high demand for vitamin C during periods of emotional or physical stress. It eats it up. The skin and the human eye are exposed to solar ultraviolet radiation. Requires a lot more vitamin C when you're in intense exposure of these things. That's a report in the Current Eye Research magazine, that the provision of 2,000 milligrams of oral vitamin C raised their ocular concentration of vitamin C by 32% compared to when 48 milligrams of vitamin C was added to the diet, or even 148. When you throw 2,000 in there, you find the vitamin C goes up in your eye by 32%. That keeps you out of cataracts. It keeps your collagen clear. It makes up your lens. That report alone should have signaled researchers that the idea of a saturation point for ascorbic acid at 90 milligrams was flawed. We live in an era when physicians and pharmacists and researchers all repeat the same thing. The false claim that consumers are wasting their money taking high doses of vitamin C since excessive amounts are excreted in the urine. And furthermore, a high dose of vitamin C regimen would literally serve as a cleaner for the bladder. The acidity from vitamin C would kill off any bacteria, and the risk for bladder cancer would diminish considerably. This is the point that they make in their book. Vitamin C is not just to prevent scurvy. That's all they are after. Well, it does that in 90 milligrams. But boy, vitamin C is the key for rebuilding the collagen, the glue, or the goo between cells that's in continual need of replacement and repair. Collagen is a barrier against the spread of infection and malignancies. Vitamin C helps to control the blood capillaries. Low levels of vitamin C loosen the capillaries and permit serum and toxins and cellular debris or even red cells to pass into surrounding tissue, which results in inflammation, hemorrhaging, and things like that. Vitamin C regenerates glutathione. That's one of the master antioxidants in all living cells, and especially in the liver. So it lends an electron. Vitamin C lends an electron to protect vitamin E from being oxidized. So vitamin E relies on vitamin C to renew it. Living cells crave more vitamin C when they are distressed. And my God, we are all distressed until Trump cleans the swamp. You see, so we're all very distressed. And so now humans are missing the fourth enzyme that takes to make vitamin C. It's called galactolactone oxidase. We don't have that enzyme. It takes 4 enzymes to produce vitamin C in the body. And most mammals can do this, except for fruit bats, guinea pigs, and primates and humans. Every animal makes their own vitamin C. That's interesting. But humans can't. They have to eat it. And this is why God told Adam, he knew this, he made man. He said, you have to eat all green vegetables with its seed, and fruit bearing seed as your food. Now, if we did this, we'd get our vitamin C. But we're eating bacon and eggs and toast and jelly and coffee and rolling a donut and pizza, hamburger, pie, and ice cream and wheat, and oats, and sugar, and all this stuff is acid. That's not giving us our vitamin C. The RDA for vitamin C may be more important than for other essential nutrients in the body, any of them, because the massive universal shortage caused by the genetic mutation here, or this lack of this endogenous system that animals have, but we don't. The health authorities have bought into the false claims of RDA, and this saturation level without enough scrutiny here. The very fact most mammals make high doses of vitamin C in their bodies on their own without side effects should cause researchers to question any of these precautions over high-dose human consumption, because animals really put it out. The scientific community is going to have to be prodded, though, into reviewing its own flawed science, and they're trying to do it. These good men are trying to do this. They don't listen, of course. Dr. Sardi, he says, I've begun the letter-writing campaign by sending an email to senators. Senator Harkin of Iowa, asking him to contact the NIH to demand their rationale for the current RDA for vitamin C. I've also asked Senator Harkin to initiate legislation that would place an asterisk every time the RDA is published. And this asterisk would go down to the bottom and say this: intended for healthy people only, does not indicate nutrient levels needed by the aged, smokers, diabetics, pregnant females, individuals taking certain medications, and those who are ill, unquote. The RDA gives many consumers the false impression that that's all they need. Well, a brief review here is that free radicals damage the DNA, and this accelerates aging. We're going to talk about aging here in a minute. And this is fairly well established. And researchers are hinting at maximum levels of nutrient intake that will protect the DNA, rather than that current idea of this dumb RDA that provides just the minimal amount to prevent overt deficiency diseases like scurvy, but to protect the DNA and make us live longer. Researchers have looked at the effect of vitamin C alone in extending human life. The Enstrom epidemiological study was published in 1992, showed that just 300 milligrams of daily vitamin C from supplements would expand the male lifespan by 6 years. And they did that study in 1992. The typical American diet provides 110 milligrams of vitamin C. So, you see, they're croaking early. And the reason why is because they're not even getting 1/3 of what they need to live longer. And it comes in 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. Oh, you got to be kidding. Only 9% of the American population eats that many fruits and vegetables. That provides about 210 milligrams of vitamin C.
Go ahead and call
It wouldn't give us 300, it would only give us 200. Widespread ascorbic acid supplementation needs to be taken for most adults to reach a 300 milligram daily intake point. So, for comparison, now, they say that cholesterol control and physical exercise expand the human lifespan by 1/2 year to 1.5 years, respectively. So if you keep your cholesterol down and physically exercise every day, you'll expand your lifespan 1.5 years at the most. There is so much emphasis on this, physical activity and cholesterol, but very little emphasis to supplement with vitamin C. That could cause you to live at least 6 years longer. Now, animals that make vitamin C in their bodies, they live 8 to 12 times beyond the age of physical maturation. 8 to 12 times. Now, humans physically mature at 18, around the age of 18. And they live only a little more than 4 times longer than their maturation. So, you would ponder this. If you really got the vitamin C that these animals were making in their body, and equal that out and take that much, which would be over 300 milligrams a day, could they live 150 or 180? Well, it's possible. Now, Dr. Jensen, who I studied with for several years and was with him in his research and farm out there, he had a wonderful 350-acre health farm out in Escondido, California. And in his House of Seven Wisdoms, where he expounded each day, there was a big window. He had a picture of a Chinese health doctor, a herbalist, well known to the Chinese, that was born in the days of Isaac Newton. He was born in 1699. And they know this because the Chinese keep records. And he went through, I don't know, 15 or 16 wives during his life. But he lived on through the 17th century and the 18th century. He lived into the 19th century. And he lived into my lifetime. And his name was Dr. Wu. And a picture of his face, on this window, the light coming through it, was amazing. I'll never forget looking at it day after day. And Dr. Wu lived on a herb called fo tai. The Chinese call it fo tai. It's kind of a ginseng-like herb. He was raised in a herbal garden there in western China. And his father lived, they say, 200 years. And so when he reached 100 years, the Chinese government gave him an award. Instead of sticking them in rest homes and killing them like they do here, they give you an award. And so then he reached 150 years, and his sons, there were so many of them, became a whole contingent of the Western Chinese army. He had, 50, 60 sons. And so as time went along, he reached 200 years of age, and the government asked him to come to Shanghai and teach gerontology at the Shanghai University. Well, he was in Western China. China's as big as the United States. He had to walk or take an ox cart across China at 200 years of age. Well, he did. And he came to Shanghai, and he walked into Shanghai and the offices there, and they expected a little old bent-over man with white hair. But he had black hair. And he was straight and tall, and he didn't look his age at all. And so they wondered about this, and they asked him what he was eating, because the Chinese know that your nutrients have a lot to do with this. They always did know this. We've seemed to throw that out the window. However, he was eating a herb called fo tai, and they changed the name of it to ho shu wu, which we call it today. And that means in Chinese, Mr. Wu has black hair. They were so amazed at this. Now, he got enthralled with a game of tennis at 200 years of age. He thought that was great. So he began playing tennis. And the stress of it, and the pollution of the city, and the noise and everything, he was used to a quiet herb garden in western China. And he aged pretty rapidly, and he finally passed away in 1936, in my lifetime. But he was born in the days of Isaac Newton. So is it possible for a person to live that long? Well, evidently, because the Chinese records show that he did. So, now, when you look at this wonderful herb called ho shu wu, we have it. Nature Sunshine sells it. Does anybody buy it? No. They don't know the stories about these things. That's why we're talking here, not to hear my head rattle, And so, this is one good thing to think about. Maybe these herbs do this. So I've taken them since I understood that, and now I'm 83 and I feel pretty good. Do back bends, run A80s. I do everything I did when I was 30. I think I'm going to keep taking this, We can ponder what would come of the health of people if they learned of Doctors Hickey and Roberts here claim that supplemental vitamin C taken in divided doses will vastly improve your human health, and if there were a resurgence of vitamin C supplementation throughout the population of the United States, as there was when Dr. Linus Pauling was alive and writing his books, and instead of the stupid lies that we hear today, so maybe, just maybe, we wouldn't have a sick population like we have this day. If that were to happen, we would expect the incidence of cataracts to drop significantly, or at least to be delayed by quite a few years, according to the Journal of Clinical Epidemiology in 1999, who studied this. Arthritic symptoms would diminish in the population at large due to the maintenance of collagen, because this is the lack of collagen being repaired in your joints is what arthritis is. And it depends on vitamin C. Rates of skin cancer would drop precipitously. The number of days in a year that people would be hampered with cold symptoms would be reduced so much that the productivity of the whole nation would shoot up. And the United States would regain its sense of balance again and be great again.
Kcxl.
Viral eruptions such as herpes and SARS would be better controlled or even averted.
Depends on which one you want.
According to antimicrobial chemotherapy study they did in 2003. Smokers would live
You can
longer
go
even,
listen to it at
and not expect much of the
Mixcloud.com in about
pathology they
15
develop,
minutes.
according to the College, American College
Mixcloud.com
Nutrition Magazine in 2003, the study they
MIX.
made there. Rates
Yeah,
of gallbladder disease
.com
would drop by about
/Logans_run.
25%, according to the Journal of
It should be
Clinical
there.
Epidemiology.
Should be there by
In
12:15.
1998, they did a study on that.
You could also
The
go to
incidence
his
of
page on
aortic
Facebook and watch the
aneurysms,
video
the
that
bulging
we're
and
doing.
possible rupture of their aneurysms of their arteries would be virtually
//
eliminated. A study published in the March issue of 2004, American Journal of Epidemiology, indicates that males taking high
Alrighty.
doses of vitamin C
YouTube.
exhibit 2.68 times less calcification in their arteries compared to males who consume low doses of vitamin C. So the risk of angina among adults who consume a significant amount of alcohol would be cut in half. You drinkers out there, remember this. You know, vitamin C may be your salvation. In March of 1998, they found in the Journal of Epidemiology that adults who consume high amounts of vitamin C exhibit 27% decreased prevalence of coronary heart disease and 26% decreased prevalence of stroke. What about that? Well, here's a study. A 500 milligram dose taken 4 to 5 times daily would achieve a 55% reduction in cardiovascular disease risk. Now, these are studies that have been reported, but Americans don't see them. They're not out there. They just tell you, well, vitamin C taken is worthless. You pee it out. A report from Duke University was the most recent vitamin C scare. This Duke University, they got a good basketball team, but forget the rest. The report warned consumers away from vitamin C supplements. Now, this is their report. Quote, "Our findings suggest that dietary intake should not be supplemented above the currently recommended dietary allowance of 90 milligrams per day for men and 75 milligrams per day for women." And that was the advice of a researcher, Virginia Krause, from Duke University. A PhD and MD and her colleagues agreed. Well, like other negative scientific reports about supplemental vitamin D in recent years, this study from Duke University Medical Center was released late on a Friday night when criticism and rebuttal would be minimal because they'd be gone. They're shut down Saturday and Sunday. And the report was published in the June issue of Arthritis and Rheumatism in 2004, in June. It claims that high-dose vitamin C given to guinea pigs worsened the occurrence of bone spurs in the knee joints of the guinea pig. Now, the question is, why did Duke University researchers warn the public away from supplemental vitamin C based on a small animal study when a very comprehensive human study published in the same journal 8 years before that by researchers at the Arthritis Center in Boston University Medical Center found that the adults who consume high dose of vitamin C experience a 3-fold reduction in the risk of progression of knee osteoarthritis and that supplemental vitamin C reduces knee pain. That was in 1996. And they proved it on humans, not a dumb guinea pig. Guinea pigs are not humans. There's another flawed report published in the Scientific Science magazine. Says high doses of vitamin C might damage DNA and warned the public to avoid high-dose vitamin C supplements. Stupid. The DNA test was conducted in a laboratory dish. 5 human studies have already been published showing that 10,000 milligrams of vitamin C taken orally does not damage DNA. So, friends, don't believe what you hear out there. Everything's so stupid. Now, if the public finds out about all this, there won't be enough vitamin C available, believe me. So, Doctors Hickey and Roberts claim the NIH and IM have failed to investigate these high-dose usages for over 50 years and don't believe their stupid statements about high doses of vitamin C. Get it and take it, and you'll feel a lot better. In fact, I remember if you have a clear conscience, what is that a sign of? A bad memory. That's about it. Okay? And now, friends, my number is 816-587-4484. These things I talked about, if you want to get them cheap, and in fact, wholesale, just give me a buzz. Make an appointment with me. And we'll take some hours to see what nutrients you're lacking by looking at your eyes. I'm an iridologist. 587-4484. Ron Logan, your happy iridologist, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, friends, for listening to this tirade. See you later.
You want to say bye to the Facebook people?
Yes.
Go ahead. We got a minute if you want to say goodbye real quick.
Yes. All of you Facebook people can get me a ron-logan at hotmail.com.
Kcxl.
And we'll have some fun there, too.
All
My
right, hang
wife
on, let me
runs
lock
that end of it, and she's... she goes down into crying fits when there's too much of it, but, give us a buzz.
Kcxl.
587-4484.
Hello.
We love you all, and we hope that you stay healthy, because that's the last advice
right.
that Apostle John gave us in 3 John.
Hang on a second. Let me get this other show on the air, and I'll
chapter.
take care of you. Hold on.
And in 3 John, he said, I want you to be above all things in good health. And that's my idea, too.
All
Good
right.
health to you.
All right, we'll say goodbye. This will be on Facebook for you to watch as much as you want.